Hey everyone, this is Miss Moriarty, and I'm here to discuss with us concept number 4, which is all about cell transport. Remember, as you watch this video, make sure that you are taking down notes on our class notes. Now, we know that all living cells exist in some sort of liquid environment. One of the most important processes carried out by the cell membrane, which we know is the barrier around the cell, is to help maintain homeostasis in this liquid type environment. Recall that homeostasis is a state of relative constant internal environment. It's meaning like the same temperature, same pH, and this time now we're going to add another piece to it, same concentrations of solute and solvent. Now we know it does this by regulating the movement of those molecules in and out of the then cell via the membrane. Now, the first type of transport we're going to discuss is called passive transport. When we know that within the cytoplasm of the cell, it's going to consist of many different substances that are going to be dissolved in water that are constantly moving around in the cell. In this solution, solute particles are going to be moving constantly. They collide with one another and they spread out randomly. And as a result, they will tend to move. And how do they move? They go from typically an area of high concentration to an area of lower concentration. And the movement of those molecules across the cell membrane without using any energy, we know of as passive transport. Now, there's going to be a couple different types of passive transport we're going to discuss. In this video, the first one is going to be just simple diffusion. So these are going to be particles that easily pass through the membrane from an area of low to high concentration. And it does this to achieve equilibrium. So we want a concentration of whatever substance we're looking at to be the same on both sides of the membrane, moving in both directions. And when it does that, then the rate of diffusion decreases once equilibrium is reached, and there is now no net rate of diffusion. And so how could we define simple diffusion? We would say it is passive, right, because it requires no energy. It does not require any proteins, and it's these substances that are going to be small and non-polar that are going to simply pass through the membrane via diffusion. Now, not everything that passes via passive transport can do it simply through the membrane. Some require some help. So remember, the cell membrane is comprised of a lipid bilayer. So only those small uncharged particles can pass through. So small particles but that have charges or even large molecules like glucose can't easily pass through without the assistance of a transport protein. Remember, types of transport proteins can be things like carriers that actually change their shape. Some can even just simply be channels embedded in the membrane that allow those items to pass through. And so the diffusion of a molecule that uses a transport protein is called facilitated diffusion. So here would be an image of the both of them side by side. So let's kind of break them down a little bit. Here we can see in the image to the left, the extracellular solution has a high concentration of solutes, while the intracellular solution has a lower concentration of solutes. And so as a result, those solutes move from a high to a low concentration, and there is no transport protein involved, making this simple diffusion. Here in the image to the right, we see a high concentration on the outside once again, and a lower concentration on the inside. But the molecule moving requires a transport protein, specifically a carrier protein. And so this would be an example of facilitated diffusion. All right, everybody, this is it for our video. You want to make sure that you took down notes, be ready to debrief and discuss these topics tomorrow in class, and please mark this assignment as done.